up for whatever reason. I don't know what's the optimism here is. The only reason I see is that the VIX is kind of coming down, but I don't really know what. Uh, to be honest, I don't really know what is the optimism. Why in the world is that futures are going up? Why is S&P not following the tech down? I have no idea why is that happening. But otherwise, tech is. Yes, we've been waiting for Netflix earnings more than the earnings itself. We've been waiting for Netflix to give us that sentiment indicator. We've been trying to gauge Netflix as a sentiment indicator, and Netflix did deliver on that promise of being a sentiment indicator. It crushed it crushed tech spirit. Tech was down close to Qs were close down close to 1.5, 1.6%. So that's good. We were expecting this to take a hit, and as expected, it took a hit. Some of the stocks that did not do well were Facebook, and the chip sector. Otherwise, some of the other names, even Microsoft was meandering around. The day started pretty decent, but after that, Microsoft, even Apple, they started to go in and out. So that was pretty expected. So far, the tech trade is pretty expected. And I forgot to close out. May be short. Well, yeah, tomorrow you can. Tomorrow you can close that. I think there's still time for that. And Tesla, yeah, well, Tesla did not. Tesla was underwhelming. Well, not underwhelming, but the expectations were way too much from Tesla. I don't know what were they expecting. I don't know, maybe a 20-25% move, but the move was never there. The 20-25% move was never there. It was never going to happen. At the max, 5 to 10%. That's what I was pricing in. That was what the options were pricing in 5 to 10%. No, no, not really. The options were not pricing in 5 to 10%. Options were pricing in something more horrible. Like I said, 690 puts were, I entered late, around uh, I don't know what time I entered, but those puts ended up being better than 100%. The 830 put, that was 100%. The 690 put, that was 100%. That was weird. I entered for about $1, I think. The 690 put, it went close to $2. That's crazy stuff. There was the other one, the 830 put. I entered around 300, I guess. That ended up being at 600. So that the the IV, that's what I was playing. The IV got juiced up as the event was nearing, and as now tomorrow, obviously, I'm not going to be able to capture all of that. Maybe I'll make I'll lose about 80% of the original value of the 300 bucks. But the other ones that I played, went close to 1,000 to 1,200%. That was a good one, both to the upside and to the downside. So that was good. Uh, Now coming back to Nasdaq, obviously this is the problem right now, and when I say problem, I don't really mean problem, but Nasdaq will need to resolve itself out. And Nasdaq right now is under quite a bit of stress. 146. Okay, this actually did better than I expected to the upside. Mostly it's supposed to stop here somewhere around here, but it did better than what I expected. Did it actually stop there? Well, let's get into futures first before I get distracted and go down the rabbit hole. Overbought, and it right here it is running into resistance. Uh, it's been trying to break this resistance throughout the day, but couldn't actually push beyond that. And I've been watching this thing throughout the day, and couldn't really do much. So most likely, a breather. I would much rather want to see a breather here. Come back down into its five around 44.63, break that and push into 44.54, and most likely push into its mean about here. But I don't think we're going to get that. But that is what I want to see happen. And let's see. Even yesterday, it were the futures came down all the way till here, the 200. Again, I want to see the same scenario get tested again around 200, but I don't believe that's gonna happen right now. I think if we get 44.60 somewhere around that number, that'd be awesome. But the good to have would be 44.34. And in fact, if it can break below that number and go and test this number, 44.24, that would be even better for futures. Tesla. So again, one more time, the futures base case to the upside is still intact, 4,500. We did not try that today. Uh, Came close, but did not wasn't able to pierce through this super trend here. It was just unable to cross beyond that. So let's see how that works out tomorrow. For now, the base case is still to the upside, 4,500. Uh, let's give a take, from here. This the 200 moving average right here on the daily. This is sitting at around 44.89, 44.90. That should be my base case. And most likely, this is where it should head and get into a breather, 44.93. And if it can clear that, then we'll get a clear hit of 45.07 and most likely a hit of 45, 15, 16, whatever this number is. So the point that I'm trying to make is the price or uh, let's call it price. The price has entered the Bollinger Band, and now there's a very good chance it'll try and hit the mean. But there's a big moving average going across right here. It needs to cross that first and then test the mean. So this will act as a major resistance here. Most likely it will hit that and probably take a breather and then start its push up into 45.16 or something like that. And let's see how that happens. And one notable thing is that it left its core moving average here. It is an orphan sort of a candle right here. So on the regular candles. So I'm assuming that either the technicals need to catch up to the candle or the candle needs or the price needs to come back down into the technicals. So even if it happens around the mid, somewhere around this average here, 44.62, I'll still take that. And that's still the range that I want to play futures or even for that matter SPX tomorrow. 44.52 to the downside and 44.93 to the upside. This is the range that I want to play this. And let's go into this. Uh, this got tested, still not, still this to the downside. The weekly 50 EMA, this is still outstanding. This was not tested yet, but this needs to get tested. If to the downside, if it comes to the downside, then this needs to get tested. And still, we are still pointing here 43.80. So this still is intact. This will still act as a bounce point, 43.80, but not currently not really going near that 43.80 or not really going near that 43.60 range. But that is still intact. That will still remain there. And to the upside, the mean is still the base case, 44.93 or whatever this number is. And 44, let's give or take 4,500. Let's call it, let's round it up at 4,500. That is still the base case to the upside. And if you, so this is the range that you want to be playing right from here or let's call this 45 to the upside, and let's use this. This seems more formidable. It's been bouncing off of this number throughout the day, 44, 48, somewhere on this number. So this is the range. This is a little tighter range, but this is much. We can work with this thing meaningfully. To the upside, 45, 45. The downside of 44.50. This is the range that is much more workable. If it breaks below there, we will reassess the situation. And now let's get back into one more important one is the VIX. Well, important, but not in the context that today it was not really a VIX-induced sell-off or VIX-induced rally for that matter. The VIX is doing what it is doing, which is getting oversold about here. But it has ways to go down. I think VIX in the long term will still, try to push down into this number somewhere about here, 1894 or something like that. Might happen today, tomorrow itself. Might happen tomorrow itself. So keep an eye on VIX. Uh, let's see there. So this is what's been happening for VIX, and it's been making a base. So this is what I was looking for still, 1794. And this might come sooner than we might expect. 18. So 1970, somewhere around it bounced today here again, and I'm expecting this to try and breach again tomorrow. If this breaches tomorrow, then I think it will push into 1978 or 18. Round that up at 18. So, but doesn't won't happen in a straight line. But this is my expectation again. Come back down and test this number again, today's lows, and then again, ephemeral bounce perhaps, then push back into this number here. It is always handy to keep the higher time frames, always. And this is the number I'm watching to the upside, the 200 here. So this is the number. Anytime that you come across the 250 together in such close proximity, this will act as a pretty decent resistance now. It has to come back, the price has to come back and test this and then this. So this will act as pretty decent resistance now to the upside. Let's see here. So this is pretty much what I was watching for a bounce. This would have been, much bigger bounce, I think. And if it had tested this number, I would have been much happier. But it bounced off of this number right around, where is that? It bounced off of this number, right about, where is that number? And find that right about here. It bounced off of this 200, but I would have been much happier if it would have bounced off of this number, somewhere around here. So, so that would have been one lesser thing to watch if that bounce would have come from that super trend. So this is what is happening. It is trying to get oversold, getting resolved, getting pushed down. Same thing happening, the spike and push down. So if it would have bounced off of a correct level, then we would have been expecting it to push into this number, 2136, and most likely this number will get hit, 2136, and that is right about here, 2130. So this 200 on the daily will act as a meaningful resistance, and should that get cleared, Then you have this thing to deal with, 21 35. So this is the actual resistance that you'll come across. So once it, if it does actually clear this up, then we will look for an upside for VIX. But right now I'm not pricing VIX, or I'm not charting VIX beyond this. So keep that in mind for resistance and push down from here. Let's get into um, I know quite a few people played Netflix, both to the upside and downside, and that was awesome. Um, so Netflix is getting oversold, but doesn't mean squat here. We could look for ephemeral bounce, which I've been looking for, and I've been playing this thing all day long, both to the upside and to the downside. Uh, this was giving pretty clean, decent trades here. Uh, let's go down. Where is the chart? Netflix. Right, so it's been giving pretty decent trades throughout the day. Throughout the day, up, down, pretty decent trades. And even with a little bit of knowledge of technicals, this could have been played very easily. I overtraded, to be honest. I overtraded Netflix, but this was one of the best trades for the day. Besides SPX, SPX was very predictable today, and Netflix was a very nice trade today. And I'm still looking for Netflix to, at some point it has to, either the technicals have to come back down or this thing needs to move up. So still waiting on Netflix to do Netflix things. And basically what we are waiting on is, I'm not looking for that. Okay. 139 is still intact, but the price to the downside of this one is still intact. 139, 140. That will happen at some point in time. But for now, this is what I am eyeing, 262. This, of course, will have to come down, but for all intensive purposes, this is what I'm eyeing. On the monthly chart, this right here, this is coming down nice and easy, and we got this one red bar here. And according to the regular candles, we have two red bars. And when the stochastics try to turn, right here, it is actually turning. But on this one, if it starts to turn, then we could look for a potential pull up into 260s. So even if you don't get it into 260s, most likely probably 240s, that is still a good number. From 226 to 240, that is still a great number. So I'll keep playing this to the upside and to the downside. 35 points, 35% in a day is not really a sustainable number. So they beat on the top line, they missed on the bottom line. This is still there, and the price hikes are coming and whatnot. So, and another reason people dumped it super hard is because this is now this is being considered as consumer discretionary. Right, so this and that's another reason that people are trying to ditch this. They're getting all that package into Disney and whatnot. So why do you need this unless unless there is some really good show or whatnot on Netflix? I don't believe that that's the case these days. Everyone has good shows on that, and the competition is increasingly against them. Amazon, Apple has Apple TV or something like that. I don't really know. Amazon has Prime, and then you have Disney and Hulu and whatnot. So, and then there is Tubi or something, or Tubi or something. That's a free service. So it doesn't make much sense to pay that high of a multiple for a video surface. That's the reason investors are dumping this thing. To the downside, this is still valid, and you could actually start selling your puts if you're into what do you call the passive. You could start selling puts and capture that premium. Pretty straightforward stuff. Uh, and This is another thing that I'm watching very keenly. Bitcoin. Bitcoin is testing all sort of numbers, all sort of levels all day long, but couldn't break out meaningfully the way that I wanted it to push up. It couldn't. It couldn't do that. It right here again, the power of 50 moving average. It hit that to a T, came right back down. My expectation was for it to start to hit this 4120 something like that. It did hit that number, but it's not moving as fast as I would have wanted it to move into the mean here. And this mean is, if it crosses the mean, it would be meaningful. Uh, I'm pretty sure majority of the market participants are watching the same number, 42, whatever this mean is. If it hits that mean and tries to clear that, then the markets will be again starting to push. And I'm watching this indicator here to give a buy signal. So if this gives a buy signal, then I'm thinking that the position traders might take an entry around here, this levels. So keep an eye on this. And also, if crypto, especially Bitcoin, pumps, that means it's a risk on environment. So watch out for that. Okay, now let's move into. Do we want to see Apple? No, I don't really want to see Apple. Indices. What is the headline now? Low battery is the headline. Fuck. All right, so let's get into SPX. SPX, this was a great trade all day long today, all day long. And the range for SPX is still the same. To the upside, there's 4,500, and to the downside, I think we are still yet to test this 46, 70, 80, whatever this number is. It hasn't been tested. So at some point, this needs to get tested. For the base case, the 4,500 is still the base case to the upside. It is trying to push up. The mean is trying to push up. Now it's 4,505. So I'm still tracking that as a upside. And now the base case is not 43, 50, 70 anymore. Base case should be pushed up into 4403 or whatever this line is extended into. That should be the base case now, right around 4403 or something like that. And if you want to go deeper and closer to the price, and this should be your base case, which it has been bouncing off of. This 4,500 line right here, this should be the base case. And again, tomorrow, this is exactly the same way I want to play this, uh, using these moving averages to the downside and mean to the upside. This is the exact range, the 50 point range. 4,500 to the upside, 4450 to the downside, give or take a few points up and down. And when I'm saying I am trading this range, it doesn't mean that you need to wait for this to get hit and then try to get out. Doesn't mean that you wait for this to get hit and take an entry. That doesn't mean that. It just means that at some point it will get tested. That's what it means. And your trade should not be based on that range. Your trade should be based off of VIX and the lower time frame technicals if you are trading lower time frames. Unless you are swinging, these are different, and I don't believe anybody swings here. So uh, all you need to do in this regard is pay attention to the range. So this is what happened today. SPX was in a pretty tight range, and one thing is very noticeable here. Uh, the daily is a red candle. The daily is a green candle. So the this thing is still intact. The uptrend is still intact as an average. According to the average, the uptrend is still intact, and I'm pretty positive that tomorrow it will hit the mean. I'm pretty positive about that. And if Apple pushes, which it most likely is bound to push up, and it will breach the mean and push into this number. And right now, I think with Tesla having no, actually might have tested that. Let's anybody have understanding of where SPY was? 446. Okay, look at that pump from 443 to 446. This is crazy times. That 30 points on SPX could have captured this pretty decent move. I don't know if anybody did, but this was a pretty decent move. I'll go through that trade as well. And this is this was very predictable today. This is SPX SPY. I'll go through this trade in a minute. And let's see Netflix. SPX. And so here's what I was trying to. The distinction here is even though this is a red candle on the regular candles, the Heikanashi is still a green candle, right? So Heikanashi, which is an average, it is still telling the trend is to the upside. So keep that in mind. And this is a doji per regular candle, but I wouldn't put much stock into this doji as of now. Of course, we'll see how the earnings play out tomorrow, and based on that, we'll see how it pushes into this 200. And the moment it hits this number right here, 4,500 or something like that, 4,497, it is bound to take a breather. It is hitting its 200 and the mean. So my expectation would be to take a breather, come right back down, and start pushing back into this. And if it clears this 4,500, my clear shot would be this 100 and then a push into its upper inner Bollinger Band. Not looking for the hit of this tomorrow, 45.68, although it is not out of the question. We just need one good bit of news to, and given that we are expecting VIX to push down another point or not push above 21.35 or something like that. Given that scenario, we are still good to hit this number, 45.68, but not pricing in that as of today or as of now. Tomorrow things might change, so we'll reassess the situation tomorrow. Now another point, and I've been harping this thing that April is seasonally the best month for the stocks, or one of the best months for the stocks. Now the other thing is that financials financials have started to push, so that is a very good thing. Financials, as long as you have financials leading or doing good, which it was the case today, then I think the market is still in a good shape. Okay, and this is the case to the base case to the upside. Again, we're looking for the hit of mean, and base case to the downside should be here, right about here, 44, 47, and 44. Let's round that up at 44.50. I'm not 44.50, but this number right here, 44.47. Let's round it up that number, the 8 moving average, or according to Heikanashi, right about here, right about here, 44.47. So this is the number that I would be watching, and this should act as solid support. Should that break, obviously we'll look for a hit of 5, then we'll look for a hit of 50. This should be absolute bottom tomorrow. If push comes to shove, then I'm expecting 44.15 to be a bottom. give or take a few points here and there, but this should act as a solid support here. So let's see how tomorrow works out, and let's get into this trade here. So where is the trade? This was the trade right here. I think a few people caught it with me, and right here, this was the fucking trade. This was the trade, and it hit that to a T and bounced off as if there is no fucking tomorrow. I was still expecting it to go hit this number and then take a breather, but that did not happen. It came right back down. So now, based on this chart, see, this is coming down and this is coming down. All that is happening. So based on this chart and the RSI moving average is still pointing down. So I'm expecting a test of this number again, 4450. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but per technicals, it is due for that push back down into that number. It tested that once, so the possibilities of it coming back down would reduce, but I'm still expecting that to happen. So if the 200 starts to push up here into 44.54 or 44.60, that is still a possibility that it pushes up and then the candle comes down and hits that around 44.56 again and pushes up. So let's see how that plays out. My if you know if it were to me, if the way the technicals should play out, then it has to come back down, hit this number just like that, and this time it should pierce through that number and go here around 44.37. So if it were to follow technicals, that is how it would work out. So how do you know that? We have the same case here, comes right back into the mean, pushes down, pushes up, pushes down. So that's why. But we have seen on the daily candle, it is still pointing up. The average is still pointing up. The RSI is pointing up. RSI average is pointing up. So based on that, I'm saying that it would continue its uptrend. If it breaks here, then we have a clear shot at this number here. So still waiting on this number to break. Still waiting on this 50 to break. And SPX has been given great entries and exits throughout the day. If you watch this line right here on SPY, you could have traded it. And this is the breather. First, this was the breather I was looking for, 44, 47, 24. I knew some people kind of got out here. I don't know if they shorted it or not. From there to here, it was a nice trade. And then again, when from here, when Apple started pushing up here, I was in that Apple trade. Apple started pushing up here, all the way here. I got out of Apple here, came back down, and started pushing up again. And this is where I shorted Netflix, the downside. Of course, I've been trading SPX all throughout, according to this, but uh, majority of my trades, or in the small account, the trades that I make, intraday trades, were based on this chart. Where is the SPX? Right here. So this was the pump. It was supposed to come here, start back up, and come right back in. This was a very decent trade today, all throughout the day. And in fact, I was trading on 5 minute candles today. Sometimes for confirmation, I was going up onto 1 hour and 15 minutes. But for the most part, I was here throughout the day. And if whenever you see me, off the off the voice chat, that most of the times that means it is, I am trading heavy. Majority of the times, that's what that means. I am trading heavy. So this is the line that was, it was based on today for the majority of the majority of the chart trading. This was the line that it was basing off of, the 50 SMA on the hourly, the 50 EMA. So pretty decent trades today. Pretty decent. So I'm still looking for this range to play out in the short version of things, 44.50, and then to the upside this 44.80. This is still the range I am playing. Right now, let's go back. What is the chat saying? Uh, Guys, we party. Timo, change your picture. I'm the only one who got smoked in SPX today. What do you mean? Time to change it, Timo? Why, Nate? Trade, Nate, what happened? It's probably give me a lesson today, but not too bad. I know what happened with Hutch, but I don't know what happened with you, Nate. Has fucked me up on quite a few occasions. Nice and crazy. Or who's Ronnie, by the way? I don't know who's Ronnie. You said what you said. I don't know who's Ronnie. But hearing this full port for because technicals are inevitable. Nice. Doc, can we ask question on your Tesla earnings run up position? Yeah, why not? Yeah, why not? Go ahead. Uh, I still don't know who's Ronnie. Anyways, I am alive and made money. Yeah, go ahead. Whatever the questions are, unmute and talk. McRib reacted with pregnant woman. What the heck? You're so fucking funny. Can't unmute? Or too much hockey. Okay. Yeah. So no, there wasn't actually a way that I was looking into picking up. In fact, there was no plan on my part to play earnings at all. It was just an IV pump that I wanted to play. Yeah, yeah. A day before, day before, if the earnings are so, this is how it works, right? So when you look at the price curve on options, generally the way that it works is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The prices are, Monday is obviously the highest price. Tuesday it comes down a little bit. Wednesday it kind of starts to die off. So in this case, earnings were Wednesday, so there was no point in waiting till Wednesday. So the best price you could have gotten is Monday would have been a little higher. Tuesday would have been a little cheaper. So I got in Tuesday, knowing that it would be a little cheaper. So strike, it didn't matter. Strike, it didn't matter. And did not. I had no intention of spending money on Tesla. So I went. The cheapest one that I took is 845, around 54 cents or something. And even then, I sold some of the out of the money puts to cover for that 54 cents. So I just got in there, and I was not really expecting it to push into all the way into 1200%. It That was just not my base case. I was looking for, like, maybe 100% to 200%. What does that mean? The 50 cent would become 100 cents, or a dollar to 150. That is all I was expecting. I did not expect that to hit $600. But that's what happened, and it's just weird. The IV was super high, and the IV was high because of Netflix. That was very clear that people, all the uh, I don't know, uninformed crowd out there, were buying up options like next week. Options were 1100%, 11,000%. I'm not making it up. I posted that in there. So that was crazy. That was crazy. 11,000%. 8 cent option went to 45 cents. That did not make any sense. That was so, well. Again, it is what it is. But the uninformed crowd, as to put it mildly, uh, that crowd was the crowd that was buying up all those options, and institutions being institutions, people like me sold those options like candy. So, and pretty much we kind of knew. When I say we, you know, uh, the move for Tesla was not there. The move for Tesla was just not there. I wasn't expecting it beyond 10%. I was not expecting Tesla to move beyond 10%. That was just not the base case. Institutions, people like me, fuck. Yeah, you pick up on all the wrong things. Uh, so we know how to sell all this stuff, and we know how to make money off of those uninformed market participants, to put it mildly. So we know how to do that. So uh, sold quite a bit of those, and we know that it was Ivy Crush was going to happen. We know that. I came into your channel as well. Now it's your channel, by the way. You guys are occupying that channel. So I came into your channel to inform the same thing. What I was saying in Sanity, that I am closing out most of my positions on Tesla, and because I was in the camp that believed Ivy Crush will happen, and I was not expecting a move better than 10%. So that's that. And glad that I had uh, calls as well on that. When I say calls, I had like two calls, nothing major. And the thing is that I'm not even expecting the original money to come out of those original premium that I paid. I'm not even expecting that to come out to make it back, because I'm pretty sure by the time the markets open, the Ivy would have still crushed my premiums. Doesn't matter. On my calls, I still pick the right price. I still pick the right strike. It wouldn't matter. It will still crush the premiums. I would still exit those calls. And then my puts would be nuts. Puts would be at this moment all the 890s, 900s, 950s. That would have been Ivy Crush would have rendered them probably mostly worthless. So no point in even expecting to get anything out of that. So that's my thoughts on Tesla. Uh, okay, and industrials. Coming back to industrials, industrials are doing pretty decent here. Industrials and RUT was positive, and industrials are very decent here, very decent to say the least. Industrials are above its mean, sitting above its mean, comfortably sitting around here. So I'm bullish on industrial still, and I'm bullish on banks still. Uh, Q is not looking to play yet, but yeah. So industrials, I'm still bullish. Uh, I believe that industrials will continue to chug higher, and I believe that industrials will be the outperformer when compared to tech. Tech will still be the laggard. Here's how I should be. So the case to the downside would be the base case to the downside would be 3,500. Not looking beyond that as of where things stand. But if Apple takes a dip, then this will obviously come back down. And Apple and Microsoft, if they take a dip, then this will obviously come down. But besides that, not really looking for a push down. Right here, 3,500 is my base case to the downside. And the base case to the upside would be again 35,300 right here. So where it hit, then took a breather. That would be my base case. If this 200 breaks, it will act as a solid support here. But if it breaks, then we're looking for 34,890. As of now, not charting beyond that to the downside. So industrials are a much, much, much better play. Tesla and Facebook. Facebook, I got stuck in this short trade. Uh, I'm still stuck in this trade and plotted this thing, charted this thing to a T, whatnot. My expectation was it to come back, hit here. It had double super trend. My expectation was for it to hit this and start to push up from here. Did not happen apparently. Uh, I have puts that I've sold around this number, 197.50. These are the puts that I still currently holding. And if at all, if it comes down into this number tomorrow, if another tech company, another tech major, screws up and pushes down, and it will come down into this number, 1030, 197.57. And if that happens, I'll be pissed first thing. Then I'll look for an exit out of these puts, and probably I'll go down to this number and sell more puts. Earnings, 27 next week. So by the time earnings roll around, I think my puts, I don't think I'll get assigned. Now, here's the thing. I want to take an assignment if it comes down to 170, 197.50 this week. By Friday, if it comes down into this, I will take this assignment. So that is one of the reason I'm not closing those puts. If it comes down in there, I will take that position and hold on to this position, simply because there are earnings next week. And into earnings, I'm expecting it to push back into this number, 205, 206. I'll make money on those on that equity as well. I should have waited a little bit longer to sell that because now the puts that I've sold at around dollar, they're going for close to $3 or something. So I took a hit on that. But still expecting to come out positive on that trade. And most likely I will come out positive on that trade. Mm, okay. Right. So this is the reason I'm thinking that I'll be positive on that trade. But not to say that there is still good bit of downside for Facebook, and people are actually buying Facebook. This number, go figure, 170. They're buying these puts. So yeah, yeah. Positive mindset. Yeah, we'll talk about this, Jerry. We will talk about it, after hours when the chat goes, dark. We will talk about that. I'm still in the camp that says this is very much possible. 170. The chances of hitting 170 are very bright. Would I be partaking in that trade? Probably not at this point, but I could actually pick a couple of puts here around 170. Not around 170, but I would pick somewhere around here, this range, 180 range. And the way I want to pay for those puts, I want to go out of the money here, probably somewhere around here, maybe even this. So I'll sell out of the money puts and use those proceeds to buy puts about here. And the same thing with Tesla, what I did, exactly the same thing. I'll sell some calls here and use those proceeds to buy some calls around here, 200 or something, or maybe 205. I don't know. I'll figure that trade out a little later. But this remains intact. 170 remains intact, and after Netflix, this looks very, very, very doable. This should not have gotten below this number, not six and whatnot, but it did. It is what it is, and I'm kind of stuck with that trade. Yeah, this doesn't look good actually. And let's see how this plays out. And Netflix, if you are someone who's holding Netflix equity or whatnot, don't be, right? And that's not going to happen. Uh, I need Dot's bank account. What the fuck? That's on our inheritance. Jerry. Who's Jerry, by the way? I don't know who's Jerry. Who's Jerry? I don't know who's Jerry. Unless you're talking about Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Springer? Yeah, that would be Jerry. Ah, I get the reference now. Fuck, I'm slow. I'm slow. I'm not that bright. I'm not that bright. I admit. All right. Okay. Coming back to uh, this number here. Before that, let's quickly Microsoft. So Microsoft, this number is very, very, very likely to get hit. 293 is very likely to get hit. Microsoft. I'm watching this number. I might actually play this, and it will run up into earnings. I don't doubt that. It will run up into earnings, and it will be one of the biggest saviors of tech. I don't know when is Apple earnings coming up. When is that? Wow, next week is gonna be crazy, huh? And I don't know if you guys pay attention to Apple News or not. It is rumored that Apple internals are getting weaker, and I don't really know what that means by the headlines that I saw. But and I don't really believe uh, schedule for the month. Yeah, yep, I'll check it out. And I don't believe uh, that Apple internals or Apple's business model or any of that is denting right now. If anything, they are charging you for saying Apple nowadays. Even if you have to say the word Apple, they're charging you for that. So yeah, so based on that, I don't believe Apple's internals are anywhere near bad or even. I don't think there's anything wrong with Apple. Everything, the bull case is still intact with Apple as a company, as a software service, as an ecosystem, and everything. As a hardware company, that everything is intact. And Apple making their own chips. That is how they're trying to circumvent that chip shortage. So everything is intact for Apple. I don't know why would Apple push down, but if it does for whatever reason, and then we are looking for Apple to come down into this space here, 151. I don't see Apple going below this. I don't see Apple going and testing 135 at this moment. Where things stand, I don't believe that's going to happen. And most likely, Apple should, if at all, if it can come down into this number and then should push up from here. Even if you buy Apple equity and hold on to that, that is still, so this is where it bounced, I think, last week. And again, this number will need to be tested to the downside. Will it get tested? Yes, it will get tested. When? Not sure. After earnings, maybe. Maybe if somebody finds something wrong with Apple, yeah, it might come down to this number, and most likely not really looking for a push into mean reversion as of today for the month, but and this number, a test of this number would be really, really good. Everybody can get involved if it tests, it's 50 again, or even though if it can come down to this number, 143, whatnot. This would be very nice to get another entry. And if it can actually come down here, 135, that means Nasdaq is dead pretty much. Okay, if it comes down into 135, Nasdaq is pretty much dead. Nasdaq cannot go anywhere. For that matter, SPY, SPX, even SPX would not go anywhere without Apple. If at all, Apple comes back into 135 or something, pretty much major indices will be dead. It will be a bloodbath. So not expecting this to happen. People will gobble it up around this number itself. This will be a solid technical resistance. If it breaks here, then we can look for a push down into this number. It hasn't tested that number in a while. So that 50 clearly pushing up. It did test it here, and if it tests one more time, that'd be very good for new investors who come back into a position. If they are holding it back because it's expensive or whatnot. And if it comes into at 50, it would be a good sign. And if it comes into its super trend, that would be a great time to buy. But let's see how that goes. And this is the one that is better than Apple. I like Microsoft for many, many, many reasons. I like Microsoft much better than Apple, and I think Microsoft will pull up into 290s, and most likely this is where it will take a breather around this number, 290, 291, somewhere on this number. It will take a breather here. And after that, I think it will start to push into this number, 293. This 293 is pretty much sitting there to be tested. Sure. Yeah. So my bet, if I were to bet on earnings, is or pre-earnings pump would be Microsoft. 293 is pretty much sitting there, and if that clears, then 295. Right now, I'm not seeing it beyond 295, but I'll keep an eye on that. The mean is sitting at 299 to 98, somewhere on this number. As of now, where things stand, I'm not looking into a push into the mean. But if earnings come in good, which most likely will, then a push into the earnings is just a matter of time. And this will run up into earnings. I don't doubt that. All right, so that's another one. Check out earnings. I will check it out. Thoughts on AAL? Earn this as an industry. I don't like airliners. As an industry, I don't like this. Is a very tough business. It is not easy. They have way too many variables to keep an eye on. Off late, it's been the virus. Then you have the oil that they need to hedge constantly, and yeah, they got issues. Airliners have issues. So, but if you want to play, this is a meme, if you will. This gets played around a lot by the small ticket item people who want to play small ticket items. This will get played around a lot, but here is where it is headed, 2022, and it should take a breather somewhere on that and come back into this number, 1935 or something. uh, yeah, I think it is coming back down into that number, so it should hit that number and most likely a bounce into this number. And if it bounce fails, and 1874 is pretty much sitting there, and 1839. So this is how it will get played out. But airliners is a terrible, terrible, terrible business. Mm, yeah, yeah. I think it has to come back down a bit at least. It has to come back down, and then it can push up from there into this number, 2025. And if that clears, then we could look for a push into 22. But as of now, I'm not plotting that. Earnings tomorrow, yeah, tomorrow. But pre-market, post-market, I don't know. They did not give a sign here. Most likely pre-market, I'm assuming. Dead to all of them. Toronto Raptors are playing. Okay. Okay, they're asking because earnings is pre-market. Okay, nice. Yeah, how that's gonna go. Yep, yep. Uh, I said my 12 bucks. What did you do with 12 bucks? Philadelphia. Okay, you're betting. Okay, so in case you want to play airliners, this is the best of the breed, Delta. And the reason I don't like this business is I'll show you why I don't like this business. Right, so this is the chart of Delta, and this is the best in the business. And look at this chart. Mm, February 13, it pushed up. This was the expansion period, and consolidation was happening all around the industry, and that. And look at that push down. Never recovered. To a bit, to a degree, but nah, it did not. It did not recover. It came right back down. So delta most likely will be this range bound, and here is where it is headed. Delta 4516. If that clears about here, I don't see it beyond there. But if it does clear, which I don't see happening right now, because you can clearly see the trend here. It is stopping out. It is getting stopped out, and there's no reason why it won't hit that number again. it will hit that number again. But right now, the other variables like oil and everything, it will affect a lot with respect to airliners. My base case to the upside for Delta would be 45.27. When will that hit? I am not sure. But this is the base case to the upside. Base case to the downside, most likely here about, yeah, 41 something, something around here. What is this? 40.91, 41. So this is the base case to the downside. It be easily played if you are someone who can buy and hold for a couple of weeks. Then you can take a large position, hold it into 45. It's 45, exit this trade, and then look for the downside. That's how you want to play that. Right about here. Yep, that's where it is headed. Delta is headed into this number. And if if it can clear this number, which I don't see it clearing, if it can clear this number, then we can look for a push into 48. That's how I want to play that. Check AMC for the moves. There's moves. But I would be traveling luxury on Emirates. Why would I? I always travel economy. AMC. This thing is not dead yet. Why is this thing floating around? I think it will still need to come back down into this number, 15, 18, whatnot. Why is this thing still floating around? This shouldn't be this high of a stock. It has to come back down into this number, and it will come back down into this number. I don't know when are the earnings, but yeah, it needs to come back down. Yeah, yeah. But this was not the mother of all squeezes. GME was the one. GME, that was crazy. Still looking negative EPS. Yeah, this is not the thing that this is. It will flare up time to time, but I don't see it, meaningfully going anywhere. So, yeah, this is looking for another pump, and if it can come down around this number, 16. Well, let's see if it can. It is looking for another pump. 1858. Okay, it will go test this number again. I believe that if it clears there, then it will stop here. 1926. The mean is sitting around here. I don't see a scenario where it's going to go hit the mean so soon. But yeah, it is making that the whole wave that it needs to come back down, and then it will start to push up. If it clears here, then we can look for a push into this number, and somehow it will get in there and start to push back down. And on that note, let's look for GME as well. Okay. Nah, I don't like these, but I think somebody bought when this was pushing here into 150s or whatnot. Somebody bought what do you call puts, deep puts, I think. I know, I know, I know, I know. Yeah, if you're into get rich quick scheme, yeah, absolutely go for this. Yep, yep. It's fairly straightforward. I think somehow, I think someday, not someday, I think it should need to, it will go test this number, I think 154 or something. If it clears that number, it will go test this number 160 again. And all the meme heads will go nuts again, and it will get pushed back down. Let's see how that works out. Can't really chart, short term for these. You just buy puts as leaps and wait for it to come back down. That is all there is to this one. Came back all the way till what? 78. Wow, and it pushed pretty hard. Wow. So that's no rhyme or reason. For whatever reason it comes down, whatever reason it pushes up, and that's what keeps happening. And I don't. If it breaks down below its 50 this time, I don't believe it's going to come back up. If it breaks down below its 50, it should be the end of this whole meme story. For tomorrow, I'll keep a close watch on IXIC, Nasdaq, and I want to trade Tesla tomorrow, but if it this is still intact. By the way, 1160 is still intact. Now that the earnings are behind us, we can actually look for trading Tesla again. 1040, this was my base case to the upside, and I think it is hitting that number and a little bit beyond that number today. Uh, if it opens up here above this number, which most likely it will, we'll look for a push into this number 1060. And my calls, I think I bought calls around here, 1004 or something, 1008, 1004. That call, even though it is up, the premium will vaporize, but I will be in the money, so I will be making some money. The premium will vaporize here. Google calls, yeah, Google is a great one. When is the earnings? So here's what I want to play. Even if I don't get involved directly with what is happening here, let's see, there's some development on the future side. Ah, nice, 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 nice. The futures are pushing. All right, cool. And the reason that I quickly looked into that is because I saw this thing pushing up. BTC is trying to push back up, and hopefully we'll get that across. Hopefully we'll get BTC above this number now. This is the number that I'm watching, 42.5. So hopefully BTC crosses above this number, and tomorrow will be a risk on environment kind of a day, 43. And I think Mara should do good here. Let's see. AMD chip sector, still room to the further downside. So AMD, this is how I want to play AMD. Where is my chart? Put the chart up. Daily. AMD buying calls for tomorrow, Tuesday. Tesla, what long or short? If you've heard, I'm a fuck. What is that thing? Is that Ryan Gosling guy? Yeah, that's the guy. Right. So, and this is how I usually. And RUT is still. I think RUT. The IWM trade will still keep going into 204, something like that. It is right now sitting at 202. I think it will go into 204.50. RUT trade is still well and alive. So is the diamonds trade. So yeah, I digress. Well, let's see. This is how Adnan, this is how I play. Matt. All right. So this is socks. This is SMH, and this is my AMD, and this is my NVIDIA. So this is how I usually play the stock, right? So I'm seeing green. I am seeing green. I am seeing this to the upside, and this should follow this. And a couple of days back, also, I was plotting this thing to push up into this number, and it is pushing up, and I think it will hit this 253. About 6 points up, yeah, it will do that. It will push up into that number. And this is getting overbought here, oversold here. So I think NVIDIA after the earnings, I don't know when are the earnings, but it needs to push up. And then tomorrow I want to be playing this one, LRCX. So yeah, I did. So earnings were not good. Earnings missed. So I think we short this thing tomorrow, even though there are technicals available for this one. I think we go short daily. Yeah, looking good. But this is how exactly I want to play this stuff. And if I change it to weekly, yeah, Weekly is looking a little bit unsure, but definitely there is upside. I think next week when the earnings start to show positive this thing, and I think this will start to push up. There is uh, stochastic. It's curling, it's curling, curling, curling. Yeah, I think, but this is if this it were to bounce off of this number right here, 29.91, or in the case of SMH around 235, this would have been a Gucci, but we kind of stopped short of that. And this is where the uneducated trader comes into play. Just because they see a dip, they start to buy without understanding what is happening. And at some point in time, it will go hit this number. It has to happen. But without an educated traders, we wouldn't be making money. CXMB. Right, right. So on any bit of good news, this would have blasted into this number, 530. But yeah, it did not. But the earnings were not up to the par. I think which was the other one? TSM had good earnings, and what was the other one? Uh, there was another one that also semiconductors. They also had a good one. Micron, I think. Micron, yeah, Micron also had good earnings. So chip sector for now, I think it's kind of dormant. So for now, this is how it would be. If it clears 224 or something, whatever, it did hit that number today. There you go. If it clears that number, I think 232 is where it should head into. And I don't know when is Nvidia earnings, but yeah, looking good here. Technicals are looking good. And if in fact we get a buy signal from MACD, most likely next week, tech earnings should give us that, and then it should push in here. That's fucked up. So yeah, uh, watching for Net, Airbnb, UPST, Google, is Tesla, Amazon, Spy. So Net is tomorrow. I didn't know that. Net is 5th May. It's way away. It's way away. Why Net? Is there a particular reason? So it bounce here. Well, I think it still needs to go back down. Net will have to come back into this number, 96 or something. And if it does, in fact, come into this number, then we could, yeah, well, yeah, it has to come back into this number. And then we can look for a run up into the earnings. Right now, yeah, this is where it needs to go down, or at least it needs to come back into this number here, 96 to 94. So this is the range it has to come back in. The average is pointing down, and the regular candle is also pointing down, looking good to the downside. What about UPSD? When are May? Okay. Looking good here. Actually, UPSD is looking good. And if the MACD crosses, then we could look for a trade in this one, UPSD. MU is a post-earning story, and MU, I think this will continue to the upside because whatever their product that you're making, there is always demand for their product for at least a couple of years into the future. So yeah, this is still looking good for 75. Oh, it already hit 75 today, and that came back. Fine. All right. So the bellwether, not the bellwether, but one of the better companies, Lam Research, they missed on their earnings expectation on both on the bottom and the top line. That's not good. So expecting the rest of the uh, um, chip gang to actually come back down tomorrow. Look for a trade tomorrow. Nvidia, and I think Nvidia has still room to the downside. Why do I say that? This is the reason I say that. 203, this will need to be tested for NVIDIA. And if you are someone who can play passive, this is where you can look for to sell some puts tomorrow and collect that premium. And to the upside, 231 is still where it is capped. All right, guys, that looks like fun. So, yeah, all position Google and Microsoft tomorrow. Yep, yep. Microsoft still looking good. Yep. Google actually ran up after the earnings. After hours, Google ran up. I don't know why, but it did run up after hours. There's Google right here. I think it closed somewhere around here, 25.64, and ran up after hours. So let's see how this plays out. Let's see how this plays out. I will be playing Microsoft to earnings or otherwise. I will be looking to play Microsoft. All right, guys. So let's stop this thing here and let's get on to it tomorrow again in the pre-market charting. Have a great, 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 great night.